At the prestigious Etoile Ballet Academy, where even breathing too loudly could be considered an act of rebellion, there reigned a man named Victor Delane, a ballet instructor so tyrannical that the mirrors themselves seemed to tremble when he entered the room. His voice was sharp enough to cut through tulle. Every morning he would stride in, snapping his cane against the floor, declaring war on imperfection. "Point your toes. You look like ducks," he'd shout, glaring at a line of terrified ballerinas whose dreams were dissolving faster than a sugar cube in tea. Victor believed ballet was pain, discipline, and humiliation wrapped in music. His favorite hobby? Reducing his students to tears before breakfast. His least favorite thing, compassion. He treated every ply like a moral failing. He'd bark, "Grace. Where's your grace, Amelia? You look like a confused pelican." While pacing the studio with military precision, sipping his bitter black coffee, the only thing he ever seemed to enjoy. One day, however, his reign of terror met its reckoning. Courtesy of three of his most emotionally exhausted students, Clara, Margot, and Isla, they'd been victims of his venom for months. Their knees bled, their backs ached, and their spirits wilted like roses left too long in the sun. During a particularly cruel rehearsal, Victor, screaming that their spins had all the elegance of a windmill in a hurricane, Clara snapped. "I swear, I de-sell my soul to make him feel what it is like to be treated like this." The room went quiet. Isla, always the quiet one, whispered, "Maybe you don't have to sell your soul. My cousin's girlfriend is weird." "Like, which weird?" They laughed at first. But when Victor made Margot cry so hard her mascara formed abstract art down her cheeks, the laughter turned into plotting. 2 nights later, the trio met in the dorm kitchen. Isla held up a small vial filled with shimmering green liquid that pulsed faintly in the dark like it had a heartbeat. She called it Empathia Hexus, just a few drops in something he drinks, and he'll experience true empathy. Like in his own flesh, temporarily. Margot squinted. Define temporarily. Well, she said something about phases of the moon, but she was chewing on sage at the time. So, who knows? "Perfect," said Clara, grinning with unholy delight. The next morning, Victor arrived early, grumbling about lazy girls and wasted talent, unaware that destiny waited in the form of his favorite morning ritual, coffee. Margot, pretending to tidy the studio, had left a thermos on his desk labeled for Monsieur Delane. Victor's ego didn't question gifts. He poured the dark liquid into his porcelain mug and took a long, dramatic sip. "Finally," he muttered, savoring it. "Someone appreciates me." The girls hid behind the door, barely suppressing their giggles. Within minutes, something strange began to happen. Victor's voice faltered mid-lecture. "Your turnout is atrocious, huh?" His reflection in the mirror shimmered like a heat wave. He blinked. His hair, once a dull gray, flickered crimson. His shoulders softened. His neck elongated. His hands, the ones that had pointed accusingly at trembling dancers for years, now looked delicate, slender, framed by unfamiliar nails. "What is this?" His voice cracked no, lifted into a higher octave. He stumbled back, clutching his chest. His body twisted, reshaping with eerie elegance, as if a choreographer unseen were sculpting him anew. His shirt tightened alarmingly around a newly curved torso, his waist cinched. His legs lengthened, his stance wobbled on new hips. He stared in horror at the mirror. A red-headed ballerina stared back wide green eyes, lips trembling, a face that could have graced the Academy's posters. "Victor, no," Vicky screamed. The girls burst in, unable to hold it any longer. "Oh my God," Clara gasped between laughter. "He's gorgeous." "She's," corrected Margot, smirking. "She's gorgeous. What did you do to me?" Shrieked Vicky, clutching the front of her too large jacket, her voice melodious even in panic. "We just gave you some empathy," Isla said innocently. You've been upgraded to first-hand experience. Undo this immediately, Vicky demanded, stomping her now ballet-perfect feet, but the magic didn't care about demands. Within moments, the headmistress arrived, took one look at the redhead trembling in Victor's clothes, and assumed she was a new transfer student. Oh, delightful. Another talent from abroad. What's your name, dear? Vicky froze. The three girls, desperate to avoid exposure, jumped in. Her name's Vivian, Clara blurted. From Marseille. Ah, Vivian. Welcome to Etoile. You'll be in the advanced class. Change quickly, dear. Rehearsal in 10 minutes. And just like that, Victor Delane, terror of the bar, was swept into his own classroom, barefoot, red-haired, and wrapped in a borrowed leotard that fit far too well for comfort. The next hour was chaos. And up, point your toes, Vivian, called another instructor. Vicky's body moved instinctively, muscle memory twisted into something foreign. She tried to argue, but each correction stemmed with irony. No, darling, shoulders down. Smile. You're dancing for the gods, not fighting them, her feet screamed. Her calves trembled. Sweat poured down her back. Every cruel command she had once barked now came back like divine punishment. How do they do this every day? She hissed under her breath. Clara, Margot, and Isla peeked through the doorway, barely suppressing hysterical laughter. She's actually kinda good, whispered Margot. She's a natural, said Clara. Tragic, Isla added. A talent born from a curse. By the end of class, Vicky collapsed in a heap of exhaustion. Her hair clung to her forehead, her chest rose and fell rapidly, and her former arrogance had evaporated entirely. When the instructor praised her turnout, she nearly wept. For the first time in his or her life, she understood what grace demanded. Days passed. The spell showed no sign of fading. Vicky learned to walk in pointe shoes, with multiple falls and enough swearing to shock nuns. She endured gossip from her fellow dancers, who assumed she was some prodigy from an elite academy. She felt the sting of criticism, the pressure to be perfect, the gnawing insecurity that came with every mirror glance. Each night, she'd stare at her reflection, whispering, all right, I get it. I'm sorry, okay? But magic wasn't interested in apologies alone. It wanted transformation of the soul, not just the body. Slowly, though, Vicky began to change. She encouraged other students during practice, offered tips instead of insults, even helped Clara with her spins. Keep your course steady, she said softly, guiding her shoulders. Clara blinked. Thanks, Vivian. Vicky smiled awkwardly. Don't mention it. By the third week, she was performing in the Academy's rehearsal showcase, a red-haired vision gliding across the floor, her every movement filled with the humility of someone who had finally seen the other side of cruelty. When the music ended, the applause felt pure, earned. She bowed deeply, tears threatening to escape. The three conspirators watched from backstage, speechless. Do we tell her it's permanent? Whispered Isla. Wait, it's permanent? Hissed Margot. Well, Isla said sheepishly, the witch did say something about the heart must choose its final shape. Clara bit her lip. Look at her. Do you really think she wants to go back? And truly, Vicky didn't. When the moon reached its next phase, the spell offered her a choice: wake up as Victor again, or remain Vivian. That night, sitting in the quiet studio under the ghostly reflection of chandeliers, she thought about every face she had made cry, every dream she had stomped on. Her hands, smaller now, but stronger in grace, trembled as she traced her reflection. You were an awful man, she whispered. Maybe this is who you should have been all along. When morning came, Victor Delane was gone. Vivian Delane remained a redhead ballerina who smiled instead of scowled, who encouraged instead of punished. Rumor spread that a mysterious new teacher had joined the academy, beautiful, patient, and with an oddly familiar air of authority. Her classes were challenging, but her kindness drew students from all over. She still drank coffee every morning, though she smirked at the cup before each sip as if daring fate to try again. And somewhere in the back of the studio, Clara, Margot, and Isla would sometimes exchange knowing looks, silently promising never to underestimate witchcraft or karma ever again.